UFC is back. UFC 249, Saturday, ESPN, ESPN Plus. First of 3 and 8. 3 shows in 8 days, all in Jacksonville. The card Saturday includes Charles Rosa, Boston Strong of American Top Team, traveling from South Florida, Coconut Creek, to Jacksonville. No fans at the venue, but plenty watching via ESPN, ESPN Plus. I'll say this. Rosa is not only an accomplished MMA fighter, 3 fights of the night, a performance of the night, but he's also an accomplished chef. And that is so cool. And I'm going to start off there, Charles, and thank you so much. Is there a difference between a cook and a chef?
Hey, what's up, guys? Happy to be on the show. Thank you. I appreciate your time. No, yeah, I don't know. I'd say, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. I think anybody can, cook, but it takes a little bit of, it takes a little bit of work to be a chef. So it's just like kind of like the next level. It's like being like a master at something. So, but yeah.
And that's interesting because your nickname is Boston Strong, but did you think of using chef, like you said, master chef, iron chef? I know iron chef is very prestigious, but did you ever think of using that as part of your nickname?
Like the thing about nicknames is usually people give them to you. So, I don't make my own nicknames up and stuff like that. It's kind of like with fighters, usually you're given a nickname by your coach or somebody like that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like to let people know that I'm a chef. That's my other passion. My first passion, to be clear, is mixed martial arts. Fighting is my number one, and then I would say my number one hobby and favorite thing to do when I'm not fighting is cooking and eating. So these are definitely my 2 favorite things.
And that's really good because it's nice to have an outlet, of course, when you're doing that. Are you still working in the industry, in the business? I know a lot of your time is American Top Team MMA, getting ready for UFC 249. But are you involved in a chef at a restaurant?
Yeah, one restaurant I worked there for 9 years, was Cut 432. It's a nice 5-star steakhouse in Delray Beach, Florida. Amazing, steaks. It's like a modern steakhouse, and run by Chef Tony Pizzo. And I've been under him for 9 years. And the last year since I made my comeback, fight, I've pretty much been focusing 100% of my energy on the fighting and stuff like that. So I haven't probably worked in about a year at the restaurant, but I still pop my head in, go there for dinner, come in occasionally and just, chat with the crew and everybody. The door's always open for me. The chef and the people there have been amazing to me, and it's something that I still like to do and go in when I have the time. But right now I'm 100% all in. All the chips are in on the fighting and the UFC. So, I'm chasing after a world title, so I got to be 100% focused.
And you're going Saturday against unbeaten Bryce Mitchell. It's going to be during the early prelim card on ESPN Plus. You're going to help usher in that whole event, which is really cool. You've already put some credentials. I want to talk a little bit about the fight, and I'll do that now. I also want to come back just a little bit about cooking, chef, food, things like that. But tell us about what it's like having UFC back and being a part of this first show coming back off this whole pandemic thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely amazing. It's really history in the making. I think, I'm really blessed to be able to be one of the first fighters to fight back, since the pandemic, and not just first fighters, but first major sports athlete to come back since the pandemic. So really, this is kind of like history. Hopefully we're coming out of the other end of this COVID-19, this epidemic, and this is going to be kind of the start of it. This is going to be the first, part of getting to the other side, and hopefully it's going to give everybody some hope. I've gotten a lot of messages from fans, family, and friends, a lot of fans saying that they really need this, people that have lost their jobs, and a lot of negative stuff that's happened, but this is the first positive light that they have in their day. So, or their upcoming week is something to look forward to. So I'm happy to be part of it. I'm, happy to put on a fight for the fans at May 9th.
It is a nice thing because having really the only things that were going on live has been horse racing and WWE, AEW, professional wrestling, some of the groups there. So it's great to have UFC back. And were you surprised at all being part of the show? I know you were supposed to be on the show back when, in April, I guess, before everything got postponed. Was there any trepidation like, oh, geez, I hope I'm still part of the show?
Yeah, I mean, I was training the whole time like I was part of the show. I was scheduled to fight May 2nd against Bryce Mitchell in Oklahoma against the same opponent. I was training the full time. I was in the middle of training camp when they made the switch, and they did cancel the fight for one day. There was one day they said it was postponed. It was only a 24-hour period, but within 24 hours they called me and just said they extended it a week. So there's really been no hiccups. Like, everything has been, the way it's supposed to go. I mean, obviously there's that uncertainty if there's going to be any issues or if the fight's going to happen and things like that. But as far as me being a fighter, I have to be 100% locked in, 100% focused, and that's what I've been pretty much. I've just been fully locked in, fully focused, and I'm going to be ready to fight May 9th.
Not knowing when, did that change anything as far as training? And was your training routine even changed at all just because of the pandemic?
The only thing that's really changed, I've been fortunate enough to train an American Top Team. The owner, Dan Lambert, so he's been great through this whole thing. He's been able to keep the gym doors open for me through the pandemic because I had this fight scheduled. It was obviously the American Top Team gym's closed to the public, but they opened it for fighters and professional athletes like me. And luckily, the governor from May passed a bill saying professional athletes were essential businesses in Florida. So for me, it was beneficial, and I was able to go in and train every day. The only difference is I had to limit my training partners. So instead of having 5 or 6 different training partners throughout the camp to work on different, tall guys, small guys, like all different sizes and guys that have different expertises, I've pretty much been limited to the same 2 guys the whole camp, so I don't kind of cross-train with too many guys to increase the risk. And, after me, they have cleanup crews cleaning up the gym after and stuff like that. So we're being as safe as we can be. But for me, the only thing that's more scary than really getting this, COVID-19 or this, this whatever is, it really is going into the octagon unprepared and not having a full camp and fight. And that's the only thing scarier to me is going into the fight without a training camp. So luckily for me, I got the full training camp, taking all the precautions I can, and I'm going to be ready to fight May 9th.
And you touched on, obviously, Dan Lambert and American Top Team, all the precautions that were taken and all the training that's there. What is it like being American Top Team? And I'll get into the boxing a little bit, a few questions further down the road here. But you came to South Florida really looking more to boxing, am I right there, and then found MMA, or no?
Yes, I moved to Florida, worked at this restaurant, Cut 432. I was to be a chef, and after doing it for a little bit, I kind of was looking for some competitive. My uncle Tom the Bomb Rosa, he had over 200 boxing fights, was somebody I always looked up to as a kid, and I always wanted to get into boxing. So I went into what I thought was a boxing gym because I just looked up fight gyms and stuff like that, and I went into and rode my bike into what ended up being a mixed martial arts gym, which was American Top Team. So I'm really grateful to be able to, I rode my bike into a satellite American Top Team, which was American Top Team in Boca Raton, with Charles McCarthy was the head coach at the time. And, after I built my skills up, they took me into the main American Top Team where Dan Lambert, this gym is at, the mega one with all the pro fighters once I got my skills up to par.
Well, I got to ask you this about Dan Lambert because he's so into professional wrestling, and now he's on one of the shows, Major League Wrestling and all. Hey, did you ever grow up watching wrestling? Were you ever a fan of it? Was that ever something, too, down the road? Because I read you were very athletic. That was something that, hey, maybe I'll do this down the road.
Yeah, I always loved watching wrestling when I was a kid, and I used to wrestle with my friends ever since I can remember. We had a full-size trampoline in my backyard in Boston, and we used to just basically throw each other off the trampoline. So there was always us basically wrestling. It was just pretending we were wrestling. So it's definitely something I've always done. Probably how I became pretty tough is just fighting with my friends on, wrestling with them. And, I love watching the wrestling, like all the, Hulk Hogan and all those guys, guys that I grew up on. And, it's one of the other things I like. I don't follow it as much anymore because of the fighting and, I like football and other sports. But if it's on, if it's like WrestleMania or something, I'll try to tune in for sure.
Yeah, there's such a great crossover between pro wrestlers and MMA fighters these days, too, each getting into the others and trying to do an admirable job at it. It's interesting. Now, you mentioned football. I have to ask you this. Obviously, you're a Boston guy and all. What did you think of Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay and then Gronk also going? You okay with it? They gave you so many Super Bowls.
I'm definitely not fully okay with it. If he's going to come anywhere, I'm happy he's coming to Florida because that's where I'm living. So hopefully I can drive up, make a couple games. I still have that hope that maybe they'll get him a trade back before the season starts or something like that. But who knows? That's just wishful thinking. But definitely, if he had to go anywhere, I mean, this would be the place. So I'm actually grateful that if he did leave New England, it's here. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I'm still a Patriots fan. Tom Brady is my favorite athlete of all time. You know, he's one of my heroes, people I looked up to since I was a little kid and watched him dominate, and probably been pretty spoiled with football my whole life. But you know, hopefully the Patriots can pull it off and get back, you know, back in the playoffs and back to winning ways. You know.
Well, Matt, born and raised in Peabody, Massachusetts, you played, again, correct me if I'm wrong, football, hockey, lacrosse. You were also trained in karate. Your family has the boxing background. Your father, grandfather, uncle, you mentioned your uncle, professional boxers. The original plan, was it then for you to become a pro boxer?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the original plan since I was a kid. I mean, I played hockey since I could walk, since I was a little kid. So, you know, I loved, you know, sports. I always told the teachers and everybody when they asked me what I wanted to do that I wanted to be a professional athlete. But, you know, I'm not saying nobody supported me, but it's kind of like one of those things like, oh, I want to be in the NBA. It's kind of like something that's a little bit out there. So, you know, when the time came in high school, when the guidance counselor asked what you want to do, I told them I wanted to play hockey. They said, well, why don't you pick something else that maybe you can try to do both. We'll find a school that you can study. And one thing that I always loved was cooking, culinary arts. I grew up in a large Italian family. My dad, you know, was always had me rolling meatballs since I was a little kid in the kitchen, always food on the table. So, you know, I decided to go to Johnson & Wales in Providence, Rhode Island, got a degree in culinary arts, and was able to play hockey there in college. So, I mean, I wish I started training more. I did a little bit of karate when I was young and stuff like that, but I think, you know, I was probably taken away from it because I was playing so many other sports, and yeah, there wasn't really a spot that I could do it at full time. I wish I had an American top team in Peabody in Boston where I grew up, but there wasn't one at the time, so I ended up playing other sports.
But it's interesting that you were able to transition to MMA, and you've been doing well in MMA. Is that because of some of the boxing background, or no, just the overall training?
Yeah, no, I think definitely. I mean, I grew up in a fight family, so, like, you know, I was always, you know, getting chased around the house by my older brothers, my uncle, whenever I go to family parties and stuff like that. So I always knew how to throw a punch and had a punching bag in my garage when I was a kid. So I was always hitting the bag and stuff, probably not really knowing much what I was doing. My dad showed me how to throw punches, and my uncle would show me a couple things, but never really super formal training. But I think it helped a lot being an athlete, you know, getting in those big games, you know, going to weight class in New York to play in, like, tournaments, and you know, then even during the tournaments, getting hockey fights and stuff like that under the bright lights, I think it helped a lot, you know, with the nerves and stuff like that other people don't take into consideration when they fight. You know, it's not, there's a lot that goes into a fight. You know, there's the crowd, the noise, there's the anxiety, there's the nerves, and these are things that I've dealt with since I was a little kid, you know, going to other states and other cities. You know, I'd have to go to East Boston and go play those kids. I get in a fight with them every time, so I'm used to going into enemy territory. I'm used to having home games. I'm used to doing all that stuff, and I can attribute that to just growing up playing hockey and sports in Peabody.
Well, that's good, too, because that way you don't mind if you're on the other side being booed.
Yeah, I've been there before. I fought in Mexico City against 30,000 people cheering against me and, you know, yelling at me in Spanish, not knowing what they're saying. But, yeah, I just, you know, I fought in Mexico City, so you know, I've been on the other end of it, and then I've been in the home end where I got 3 UFC wins in my hometown in Boston. It's Boston Garden, where like the Celtics and the Bruins play. So I've been on both ends of it, but I definitely prefer to be the home guy. But that's why I'm kind of excited to fight in Florida, because you know I fought 20 amateur fights in Florida. I'm a Florida fighter now. Fought pretty much all my fights in Florida, so you know this is like a home game for me, and I'm excited to shine May 9th.
Well, even though it is a home game, and that is true, but still, there are no fans at the event live.
Yeah.
Do you take that into account at all? I mean, I know you just go out there and you're going to go fight, but does that even, like, what is it going to be like when I walk out there and there's no fans?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, I grew up, when I first took my first 10 karate amateur fights, I fought in high school gymnasiums with maybe 30, 40 people there sometimes for fights. And then, you know, and I've been in, you know, fights in the parking lots when I was a little kid, just street fights and stuff like that with nobody there, you know, just me and one other person, or me and just a couple friends and people just watching. So I've been there, and then I've been there, and like I said, in Mexico where there's 30,000 people cheering against me, and in Boston when there's 20-something thousand people cheering for me. So I've been through all different types, and for me, once I'm locked in the cage, it's just me and one other guy. So that's my focus, and I don't think you know, I mean, it's an even playing field. He's at the same point as I am. He doesn't have an advantage. I don't have an advantage. It's a completely fair fight. We're both going through the same thing. So, I'm going to make sure I'm ready and try to not let any of that affect me.
And was it job opportunity that led you down to South Florida?
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of things. I lost my two older brothers, Dominic and Vincent, to drug overdoses when I was 16 years old, and the following year when I was 17 years old. So, I was. I grew up kind of, fighting for what I got, and I got in a little bit of trouble here and there as a juvenile. But I'm happy that I was able to come to Florida, get on the straight and narrow, and be able to do what I love to do, and kind of be an inspiration and something that come from nothing and doing what I'm doing now.
You learn a lot through adversity. Is that something now you're older that you look back on and say, I hate all that happened, but I also became a learning tool?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I think. I think everything happens for a reason in a way. I mean, all this stuff is what makes me the fighter I am. I really, truly believe that maybe if I didn't lose, I would give anything to have my brothers back. But if I didn't lose my brothers and I didn't go through all this adversity and all the things that I had to go through to get to where I am today, even coming back from a major neck injury and a lot of the adversity that I've overcome, then I wouldn't be half the fighter I am today, and I probably wouldn't be in the UFC, and I probably wouldn't be where I am. So, I don't always know the plan for everything, but I know that everything that I'm doing is for a reason, and I'm going to keep fighting until I get what I want, and that's an eventual UFC world title.
And when you decide to, okay, I'm going to go MMA, I'm going all into this 110%.
Yeah.
What did family think of that too? Because they're into boxing, they're into combat sports.
Yeah, I mean, I think my family supported me no matter what I did. I think, they were happy that I was just doing the right thing and I was working hard and, I was making a living for myself in Florida and stuff like that. So they're there to support me no matter what I did. So really that's what it came down to. I mean, it did come down to that point where, I was in the restaurant working and the chef came in and kind of asked me to, promote me to the chef and work more hours and take the culinary arts department more serious. Being a chef requires sometimes 60 hours a week. And at that time was the time that I was going professional as a pro MMA fighter. And I kind of told him, I said, hey, honestly, I was going to sit you down and see if, kind of say the opposite. I appreciate the opportunity and the pay raise and all this stuff, but I want to chase my dream to be a world champion MMA fighter. And, he supported me that the Cut 432 restaurant would sponsor me and, help me chase my dreams and kind of give me the hours that I wanted. I worked maybe 2 or 3 days a week over the next couple of years, and a lot of people helped me get what I need and were supportive of me to make this dream come true. So I like to give them that credit too. But it's just a lot of hard work. My first 2 years in Florida, I just had a bicycle. I didn't have a car. I didn't have any money, and I would just ride my bike anywhere I needed to go. And these are things that kind of make me the fighter I am. So I'm just happy to be where I'm at now, and just going to keep climbing.
And that's great, and it really is, that's an inspirational part of the journey and story. And we're going to wrap this up. And I read that you earned your degree in culinary arts from Johnson & Wales University, where you also played college lacrosse in Providence, Rhode Island. Did you know there was a Johnson & Wales in Miami?
Yeah, I did. I actually did know that. But, I think the main one was all, the main chefs, Emeril Lagasse and some of the greatest chefs went to the one in Providence. It's, the main campus. But there is one in Miami that I think is pretty interesting. So I'd like to check it out sometime. Yeah,
and also you had the famous Fifth Street Boxing Gym, where Angelo Dundee trained Muhammad Ali. I mean, it's the facility, I believe, is still there. It's not that gym per se, but it's really cool if you ever get down to Miami and able to check out that location.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a legendary gym. Obviously the greatest boxer of all time coming out of there, and it's pretty. Miami's a really special place, and has a lot of history, and a lot of great fighters come out of there. Even now you get George Masvidal who's coming up, climbing up the rankings, and you get some amazing fighters from that area.
Well, we're going to end this now. We'll end this with a little food talk, but very quickly. But I wanted to say that you've got Charles Boston Strong Rosa going up on the UFC 249 card this Saturday. UFC is back, and it's going to be in Jacksonville, and it will also be on ESPN and ESPN Plus. And you've got your opponent. You've got Mitchell. So you've got that going. That was your opponent back in early May when they changed everything, and now he's your opponent again. So we got this big fight for you coming up. How do you look at this fight as far as the next step for you and what you want to do becoming a champion?
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Mitchell is going to be a stepping stone for me to the world title. I mean, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna try to knock his head off. You know, there's a recent interview I did that, you know, he was upset that I said I'm gonna try to break his arm, and I mean, that's exactly what I'm gonna try to do. I'm going in this cage. You know, it's kill or be killed. That's the way this fight game is. They lock you in a cage, and only one man's coming out alive. So you can expect that to be me, May 9th, and watch me get my hand raised.
And you could always use some extra soup bones anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I'll ask you with this, because I said I was going to end it with food. I just wanted to know, do you have favorite food? Is there a specialty you make, and is there something that you really like to eat?
Yeah, I do have a favorite dish, my favorite food. I mean, like recently I've been eating a ton of seafood. You know, Florida has great seafood being right on the ocean, so I've been eating a lot of, like, snapper and scallops and swordfish, like really good, you know, lean quality meat from fish markets. They got some amazing fish markets down here. But my favorite dish coming from an Italian family is chicken parmesan, so that's what I'll be looking forward to as a post-victory celebration meal. So chicken parmesan. I got a thing where I'm in search of the best chicken parmesan in the world, so anybody that got any spots that they know that think are the best, I'd love to try them out. So that's one of my journeys, one of my goals in life is to find that.
That would be a cool YouTube series. How about that? How about that, Boston Strong YouTube series?
Let's go. I'm working with the UFC. We got some good ideas coming up, but, you know, it's business first. May 9th, I got to take care of business, and then I think some other doors will open up after I get this W.
That's exactly right. You're right. Focus first on UFC 249 this Saturday. ESPN, ESPN Plus from Jacksonville. Hey, La Veranda. It's been around a long time. It's in Pompano. It's a small, nice Italian restaurant. It's over on Atlantic and US 1 Federal Highway. They make a really good chicken parm. That's a place maybe down the road you could go try out. It's really good Italian food. Nice scale restaurant too. So you can check that out. And with everything else that's going on for you, are you interested down the road again? This is later on down the road because your focus is UFC and your focus is being a champion.
Yeah.
But also Michelin chef. Is that something interested for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of my goals. You know, it's something that I want to do is eventually maybe one day have a restaurant or a chain of restaurants and things like that. But like I said, like to be great at this game right now, I have to be 100% focused and doing what I'm doing now. So you know, I've had a lot of good opportunities and people that want to open up restaurants and things like that. But even something that's going to take 1% away from my dream of becoming a champ, I gotta block it out right now and save it for when I have time to put 100% of my energy into it. But definitely something to look forward to in the future, you know.
Well, that's Charles Rosa. I want to thank him so much for the time. Awesome job. He's at American Top Team, South Florida Coconut Creek, one of the award-winning facilities, one of the best facilities around in the world. And he's got the big fight, UFC 249, coming up Saturday, ESPN, ESPN Plus. It's going to be a really good card. UFC is back. And I'll say this, I'm going to celebrate your victory with Super de Beige, Charles Rosa.
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate you, man.
Social media for you. Do you have social media you want fans to know?
Yeah, for sure. If anybody wants to check up, I got my latest stories and updates and, you know, post about my upcoming fight. You guys can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Charles Rosa MMA. And you guys can, you know, see all my latest updates there. And if you guys want to check out my family's charity that's dedicated to my two older brothers, the charity that's helped dedicated to knock out substance abuse is called Chucky's Fight. So go to chuckysfight.com and, you know, check it out. And you guys can see what it's all about. But I appreciate you, man.